Hey guys, it's Savannah here, and I'm about to share a story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. This is all about what happened on my wedding day, a day that took so many unexpected turns. It all kicked off when Marcus proposed to me at Barlow's, that cute little Italian joint off Route 9 where we had our first date. He knew I'd be mortified if he got down on one knee in a crowded restaurant, so he slid the ring across the table. I said yes before he could even finish popping the question. We were over the moon, and right after, we called our parents. My dad lied, a retired carpenter, a few words, simply said, "Good. He's a good one." But when Marcus called his mom, Judith, it was a whole different ballgame. She picked up, and after Marcus told her we were engaged, there was this long, uncomfortable 3-second silence. Then she said, "I suppose you've made up your mind," in this flat and enthusiastic tone. No congratulations, no excitement. I knew right then that she wasn't exactly thrilled about me joining the family. And let's not forget, she'd been trying to set Marcus up with Paige Whitmore, her best friend's daughter, someone she thought was more suitable for her son, like she was picking out curtains. Fast forward to 2 months before the wedding. I was super excited to go dress shopping with my best friend, Mel. We were having a blast, trying on all these beautiful white dresses. But then, out of nowhere, Judith showed up at the bridal shop. She just walked in, carrying a latte, and started commenting on the dresses I was trying on. "That one makes your hips look wide," she said. "This fabric feels cheap, doesn't it?" Paige wore Vera Wang at her cousin's wedding, stunning. I was so annoyed, but I tried to be polite. When I finally found the perfect dress, Anna, line with a lace overlay, a modest neckline, and a train that felt just right, Judith tilted her head and said, "It's fine if that's what you can afford." Mel was about to lose it, but I held her back. And then, Mel noticed Judith taking a picture of my dress and texting it. Later, I found out she sent it to Donna, Marcus's sister, asking for her thoughts. 6 weeks before the wedding, I got an email from our caterer. Judith had changed our menu to a 3-course plated dinner, doubling our budget. Marcus and I had specifically chosen a barbecue buffet, brisket, coleslaw, cornbread, something that was us, our style, and within our price range. I was furious, so I called Judith. "Did you change our catering menu?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She said she was just helping, that the buffet was embarrassing. I told her it was the wedding we planned, and she was being dramatic. I hung up and called Marcus. He talked to his mom, but she ended up crying, saying nobody appreciated her. Marcus then asked if we could just let her have this one. I said no way. I called the caterer myself and reversed the order, making sure we got our barbecue. The caterer even said Judith was very insistent. 3 weeks before the wedding, I went to the Harding house to pick up the guest list from Frank, Marcus's dad. As I was walking down the hall, I heard Judith on the phone. She was saying she's a vet tech. My son could have had Paige, educated, connected, from a family we know. Instead, he's marrying a girl whose father builds shelves for a living. This marriage won't last 2 years. I was heartbroken. I stood there for a while, trying to process what I'd heard. Then I walked into the kitchen, grabbed the guest list, and left without looking back. In my car, I cried my eyes out. But I decided not to tell Marcus. I didn't want him to have to choose between his mom and me so close to the wedding. Big mistake, as it turns out. The rehearsal dinner was at the Harding's backyard. It was all decked out with string lights, and there were about 30 people, both families, the wedding party, and some close friends. Judith had been planning this for months, and everything was perfect. Matching napkins, centerpieces, the whole shebang. After the main course, Judith stood up to toast. She talked about Marcus as a boy, ball, his first fish, all those sweet stories. But then she mentioned Paige, saying how inseparable they were. She didn't say my name once during the whole toast. Under the table, my dad squeezed my hand, and Mel leaned over and said it was deliberate. I knew she was right, but I didn't want to make a scene. Afterward, I told Marcus about it, and he said he noticed and was sorry. I asked him if he'd stand with me if something happened on the wedding day, and he promised he would. The night before the wedding, I slept in my old bedroom at my dad's house. I looked at a photo of my mom on the nightstand. She had passed away from breast cancer when I was 19. I knew she would have loved Marcus, but she also would have seen through Judith in a heartbeat. Marcus called me, and we talked. He said he meant what he said at the car, that he'd be there for me no matter what. I fell asleep, holding onto that promise. Wedding morning, I was at the bridal suite in the Magnolia Country Club. It was beautiful, with high ceilings, a wall of windows letting in that soft Georgia light, and a vanity full of makeup brushes and bobby pins. Rachel, our photographer, showed up first. She was a pro, been shooting weddings for 10 years. She set up a small GoPro tripod in the corner, angled towards the vanity and the dress rack. She said it would catch all the getting ready magic. By 9, the room was filled with Mel, my cousins, the makeup artist, and there was so much laughter and champagne. At 9:45, Judith knocked on the door. She was all dressed up in a slate blue mother of the groom dress, hair done, pearl earrings on, and she was carrying a small velvet box. She said she brought me something. Inside were a pair of antique drop earrings, gold and garnet, that had been her mother's. She said every Harding bride wore them. I was touched. She clasped them on me, and for a moment I thought maybe I was wrong about her. Maybe she was trying. Then, at 10:30, Rachel said the garden light was perfect for bridal portraits. I was all dressed up, ready to go. Judith said her knee was acting up and she'd stay in the suite to make sure no one touched anything. Mel gave me a look, but we just went ahead. What we didn't know was that as soon as we left, Judith got up, no sign of a limp. She walked to the door, listened, and then took out a seam ripper from her purse. She walked over to the dress rack where my dress was hanging and started cutting the lining at the lower back and waist. She knew exactly what she was doing, making clean, deliberate strokes. We came back from the portraits at 11. I was so happy, glowing from the beautiful photos. Judith was sitting in the same spot, scrolling her phone, saying everything was fine. I didn't notice anything wrong with my dress at first. I changed out of it for a bit, as brides usually do to rest before the ceremony. Judith even offered to get me water. When she came back, I put the dress back on. But when I started moving around at the reception, I felt something was off. The lower back of the dress felt loose. Mel noticed it too. We checked the zipper. It was fine, but something inside was definitely wrong. And then I saw Judith watching me, and she had this strange smile on her face. During the speeches, the best man, Danny, gave a great speech. Then Mel talked about my mom, and it was so touching. Then Judith stood up. She was being all nice, saying my name 3 times, calling me brave and devoted. But then, when she hugged me, she whispered in my ear, "Enjoy it while it lasts." I was shocked, but I kept my composure. I couldn't let her see me break. Then it was time for the first dance. Marcus and I took to the floor. As we were dancing, I felt a sharp tug at my waist. I heard a thread snap, and I knew something was very wrong. I stopped moving, and Marcus asked if I was okay. I said my dress felt tight and to go slow. We barely moved for the rest of the dance. I quickly went to the restroom with Mel. When I looked in the mirror, I saw that the lining of my dress was shredded. Mel examined it and said someone had cut it. Just then, Rachel knocked on the door. She said she needed to show me something. She showed me the video from the GoPro of Judith cutting my dress. I was in disbelief. I knew I had to show Marcus. We found him, and he watched the video twice. His face was red with anger, but he was calm. He stood up and said he was going to keep his promise. We walked out to the reception, and Marcus made a beeline for Judith's table. The whole room went silent. Marcus told everyone what Judith had done. Judith tried to deny it at first, saying it was absurd. But when Marcus said it was on video, she started to cry, saying how could he do this to her, that she was his mother and she'd done everything for him. But no one was buying it. Aunt Helen even told her to stop. I then stepped forward and told Judith that I was done trying to earn her respect. I told her I'd heard her say I wasn't good enough for Marcus, and I was done with her hurting me. Marcus and I then walked back to our table, hand in hand. After that, Judith and Frank left the reception. People came up to us, saying they believed me and that I'd handled it with so much grace. Mel had brought a backup white sundress, so I changed into it, and Marcus and I danced again. This time, I felt free. The next day, Marcus and I talked. We decided to have no direct contact with Judith. Marcus wrote her a letter with 3 conditions: acknowledge what she did, apologize to me directly, and commit to family therapy. Judith didn't respond directly. Instead, she used Donna to say Marcus had been brainwashed. But Donna also texted me privately, saying she was sorry and that she believed me. Over the next few weeks, the story spread around town. Judith tried to act like nothing had happened, but people at church and in the community knew what she'd done. She sent a gift basket, but Marcus didn't open it. She called, but we didn't answer. A month after the wedding, Frank called Marcus. He said Judith hadn't been the same since the wedding and that he should have stood up to her years ago. He said he was sorry for not doing anything. Marcus was really touched by his dad's call. 6 weeks after the wedding, Donna asked me to coffee. She apologized for not speaking up at the reception. She said she'd always been scared of Judith, but she saw the video and believed me. We talked about other things too, like her job and our adopted cat. It was a start of a new relationship between us. 3 months after the wedding, Marcus and I were living in a cozy cottage on Birch Lane. We'd adopted 2 cats, Earl and June, who were always fighting over the sunny spot on the kitchen windowsill. Marcus was seeing a therapist, and he was really opening up about his childhood and how he'd always been managing Judith's emotions. Thanksgiving came, and we had a wonderful, quiet celebration at home with my dad, Mel, and her boyfriend. We cooked a small turkey, mashed potatoes, and Mel's cornbread that never comes out right, but we made it anyway. It was the happiest Thanksgiving I'd ever had. In December, Judith sent a handwritten letter to Marcus. She said she'd been seeing a therapist, that it was hard, and she was trying. It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. Marcus put the letter in the drawer with our important documents. We knew it wasn't enough yet, but it was something. In January, I was helping my dad sand a bookshelf in his garage. He told me my mom would have been proud of me and Marcus. He said it didn't matter what dress I wore on my wedding day, but who I stood next to. That really stuck with me. Finally, in February, I hung a photo on the wall of our living room. It was the picture Rachel took of Marcus and me walking back to our table after the confrontation. The dress was torn, but our marriage was strong. Our wedding might not have been what I planned, but it was the start of a real, honest marriage. And that's the story of how I learned to set boundaries and how my husband stood by me through it all. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments.